The FIRE movement is very interesting, and the question is, what is the FIRE movement and will it work for us today? We're going to learn all about that coming up on Investing Education with me, Mr. B. Welcome to the channel where we help you to learn fast so you can become a successful and confident investor. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, well, we think of FIRE like we can cook stuff on fire, but the FIRE movement when it comes to investing is this kind of this newer, relatively newer movement that actually goes back way back in time as far as the principles around it. And FIRE stands for, and you may know this, is Financial Independence, Retire Early. Financial independence, retire early. And the whole idea is not retiring at a traditional retirement age. The whole idea is to save and invest and do things aggressively so that we can become financially independent and retire early. There are many people, even before this kind of time, our current time frame, who became financially independent early and retired early. I'm one of them, but the FIRE movement actually puts a little bit more around that. There's a lot more books and different things out there around it. And there's we have more social media around it, whether it's Facebook groups or Reddit. So there's a lot of opportunities to learn more about FIRE. So let's talk about what is it and will it work today? So the first aspect, the main aspect of the FIRE movement is to live well below your means. This is not just live below your means. This is like drinking your own urine. All right, that's a little extreme. Very much whatever you can do to live well below your means. If you can afford maybe a nice apartment or a nice home, no, you get as cheap a home or a living area you can get. If you think like, well, I could buy an okay car, maybe even a nice car, like no. If you can go without a car at all, do it. Or drive an old junker for 30 years until it falls apart around you. The whole idea is to really live super low below your means, which is going to get weird for you because you might have friends or people that at your work who are like doing all this great stuff or have all these great possessions. And for the FIRE movement folks, it's like not about possessions. If anything, it might be more about experiences, especially low cost experiences like hiking in the woods or camping or things of that nature, not going on expensive trips. They want to become financially independent and get out of the rat race in an early age. So you got to live well below your means. And then when you live well below your means, now you have all this extra money, right? So what do? You're saving aggressively. The whole idea is that your first goal is actually not only living well below your means, but setting that target to save aggressively. Historically, folks that really wanted to retire, maybe retire even early, were saying, hey, save 10% of your money was like a conventional wisdom. Try to get to 10%. That's hard for many people. And then really more in vogue now, actually, is like 15%. Try to save 15%. I saved more than that, especially as I moved up the corporate ladder and was able to have, live even more below my means. Not to the FIRE level, but still live below my means. So saving aggressively, but FIRE folks could be more than 15%. They could be 30, 40, maybe 50%, maybe even more of saving below their means. So if you have a good paying job and you can really live at a low paying job level, you've got all that savings that you can build up. And so you want to save more than 15%, well more than 15%. So what do you do with all that saving? Well, you don't put it in like a cash account or in a savings account that's going to pay you 1%. That's not going to grow fast enough. It's not going to even keep up with inflation. So many FIRE people, they invest aggressively. They might invest, let's say, in index mutual funds or index exchange trade funds as far as more of a passive income or passive investing. There's nothing wrong versus picking their own stocks and things. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're going to put a lot of money, let's say, in the stock market, whether it's in ETFs or mutual funds, than in other more safer investments. Why? Because they want that money to grow, and they want that money to grow fast because they're looking to be financially independent and retire early. So live well below your means, save super aggressively, and then invest a little bit aggressively too. Certainly at least probably, many folks say around 75, 80% in stocks, but maybe even higher in stocks or maybe even some cryptocurrency. Because one of the things too that's a real challenge for the FIRE movement, so this sounds good, it might sound interesting to you, but one thing to be aware of that's a challenge for the FIRE movement is inflation. The idea of inflation being, of course, the cost of goods and services rise. We're actually in a little bit more of an inflationary period, not like we were many decades ago, but still higher inflation, which means the cost of the goods and services have gone up. You probably have seen this in some of the goods and services you purchase. They're higher priced now. And that's a natural thing. Inflation is always there. Prices and goods always go up. And we want hopefully our wages and things to go up along with that in parallel, if not exceed inflation. But the problem is when you retire early, and that's something that somebody like myself who became financially independent early to be aware of, is you need a big enough nest egg to overcome inflation. Because remember, even though you've saved a bunch of money, inflation every year is eroding your buying power. So if your FIRE movement sounds interesting to you, make sure you do all those things, but also understand that you need to build that nest egg up and be able to overcome inflation. Now, one thing that FIRE people, I think, learn behaviorally that's very, very strong is because they've learned to live below their means, that they are able to maintain that. And it's become more of a behavior, a habit, a strong pattern for them. It gives them a great advantage to overcome inflation, to be successful, even when they retire early and live a long life and be very comfortable because they can live below their means. Even I know for myself, I buy cars outright. I don't, and I hold them for long periods of time, for example, just for me. And that's the way I am, because that's how I kind of grew up. I didn't grow up rich or anything like that. Middle class, basically, and understood that, living below my means. And as I started to put that in practice, I saw like, wow, instead of buying a new car every 2 or 3 years or having a big long lease or a very expensive car, I could get a nice car, and drive it for 7, 8, 9 years and still look good, gets us the job, gets me from here to there. And by doing that, I'm able to take all that money I would have put into new cars and all that stuff and put that into investing and let that grow, particularly through the stock market. So it's not sexy, I don't have the fanciest car. Sometimes I get a little envious. Oh boy, I'd like to get that new Land Rover or something. But then I say to myself, but what do I have? I have financial independence. I don't have a boss over my head. I get to do fun things like YouTube videos and create online courses for folks like you to really help out. And then I get rewarded by that, by comments and things people say. So again, these are the different ways of looking at it. But the FIRE movement folks, because they've lived so aggressively below their means, have a better opportunity than folks that are really struggling even to get to a 10% savings rate, because you have to really adjust that whole spending side of the equation. So with that, that's the FIRE movement. If it sounds interesting to you, learn more about it, and you can do like a real aggressive FIRE movement, or maybe even just doing a little bit smaller, less aggressively, but you're still saving that 10% or more. That's going to put you in good shape. Watch some other videos, learn some more stuff, get educated about investing, and that'll help you as well too. So with that, check out more videos on the channel. Don't forget the subscribe button, and I wish you all the very best. And maybe warming your hands over a fire while you're enjoying your camping, because you did the FIRE movement program.